What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Lost Records Journal, Player One vs. World's Lost Records Focus podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adnan. My co-host Adam is here. Adam, you here?
Hi, I'm Adam. I'm the imbecile friend that is on the podcast.
Oh, please don't say that. Those people are going to know now. Oh, thank you. Anyway, right. Yes, you are that person. Welcome back to Lost... God, that's for us to know, guys, and for the other people to know. Yeah, we're back for the Lost Records Journal. So obviously this podcast took a little bit of a brief step back because obviously we were in full sling of Life is Strange season, and we've obviously done a lot more StrangeCast recently. And thank you for the recent episodes as well. The YouTube views have been ridiculous, and even like the last review episode has got so many comments I haven't seen in a long time on any of our videos. So thank you so much for that. And I think the consensus was very much did relate to us on different accords. Which is good. But yeah, thank you so much for the support on that. We appreciate it. So obviously we're now going to come back to Lost Records. I think maybe the timing has worked out perfectly because of one of our news topics as well. But before we do start, if you are new here, as always, please do drop a subscribe on the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share with your friends. You can get all your Lost Records content here. You can get Lost Records Journal podcast episodes here. And Lost Records Journal podcast is available on all podcast services. So we're available on Spotify with a video version. We're available on Apple Podcasts. We're available on also do go over there, rate us, and subscribe, because you can basically get your episodes as soon as they're available. And we have we're about 60 followers, I think, on Spotify now, and we have about 8 ratings. So thank you so much. And if you haven't already, please do rate us, because you boost our visibility to other people who want to find Lost Records content. So yeah, we are back on normal schedule now. So StrangeCast will be back next week. So do stay tuned for that. But we are now back on the Lost Records Journal. It's nice to kind of come back to Lost Records after Life is Strange season. Unfortunately, Life is Strange season is also part of this podcast, among many other topics. So Adam, should we kick things off with our first piece of news?
Oh, we should kick things off. Absolutely.
Okay, so here we go. We got a lot of posts, Adam. A lot of posts. And then obviously here as well, which is a 20-second clip that has been shown a couple of times on their social media feed. It's kind of like staticky. You hear a voice, which is obviously what do you think it is? I think that is Autumn by the voice that I did. I know some people said it was Cat. I think it's Autumn. But it's showing like a little, it's very spooky. It's very alien-esque. So yeah, I thought we'd just talk about this because in itself, it seems like there is a reveal on its way. It would make sense for them to pick up the marketing again at this point. But yeah, I'm intrigued by what they're about to reveal because we're in November. So I think we might get a little reveal of something. And then obviously the Game Awards is around the corner again. So we have the Dorito of Jeff Keighley coming back in December. So I imagine that they will be there in some capacity.
Yes.
Have you watched the teaser?
I have watched the teaser. It teased me. It titillated me. I went to my mommy because I was teased.
That's the best way of doing things, isn't it? To go back to your mummy after you've been teased. I thought it was pretty cool.
It was well thought out. That like you just really have to pause it, you really have to study it. I didn't take the time to study it, but I think we're gonna get a reveal, like you said, pretty soon, because you don't really make teases like this. You don't make tweets like that unless there's something about to drop. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it seems like likely. I like paused a couple of frames. It's like very like reddish, kind of like strong colors. It seems like the aliens are coming, which is always a good sign. But yeah, I think it's leading up to something, which I imagine it'll probably be like maybe a mini reveal up to the Game Awards, which will be a bigger reveal in some capacity because it feels like they're going to go back there again to obviously get on a bigger platform. And it just makes logical sense for them to start marketing again in November after, Double Exposure has come out and kind of like start picking up on marketing, if anything. It does feel a shame because I think when you spoke out on the StrangeCast review episode for Double Exposure, this does feel like a Halloween game. It feels like it's got all the elements of a sci-fi thriller kind of game, bit of horror elements, and it feels like
this was a Halloween game. And the fact that Life is Strange Double Exposure was set in Christmas, I was like, come on, Square. Come on.
Yeah. It doesn't bode well, if anything, but I'm excited to see what we get from it. And hopefully, I think the week that we come out, we might get a reveal of what this actually is. It feels like they're building up to that. Because we haven't really heard anything since August. When was the showcase? The trailer that showed off the. Oh my god, what's the trailer called now? The gameplay first impressions. Gamescom. So the last time we've seen anything from them was Gamescom, really, like a big major reveal, and that was in August. So like we had August, we had June/July for the Lo-Fi trailer at the Xbox Showcase, I think it was, whichever one it was, the Xbox Indie Showcase that they had. And then obviously the Game Awards last year in December was when the game was revealed. Trying to work out my timeline here, events. Yeah, so it's like August, June/July/ to August. We've had 3 different trailers that have been shown. We're coming up to release in 2025. So I'm kind of excited to see, what we get from here now as well, because we're going to be going full throttle to the game's release. And it does seem like it's going to be a bit more, I think we'll probably cut a bit more into surface level story a little bit here to kind of get people's eyes caught on it.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we still have a ways to go. I don't think we're going to get a Games Award trailer. I don't think so.
Oh,
I don't think so. I don't know, because Keeley costs way too much.
God.
Like that's the thing. It's like here's why I don't think we're gonna get like it really is the cost of the Game Awards, right?
Yeah.
Already facing a Don't Nod that has paused 2 games because they're hitting kind of a financial crisis. Are they going to I think if we do see a Game Awards, that will tell us that they're putting all of their eggs on the Lost Records bucket. You know what I mean? I think they're going to be putting their eggs all over it, because if they're going to feed the cost of Keeley, that means that they are putting all their bets on this game, which I think they should, but I don't think that's a great move in my opinion.
Yeah, there are no, because we'll come into our other topic in a minute, but it is like there are big questions. 'Cause obviously, we saw the cost of the Game Awards trailers, and I'm like, my, word.
Yeah,
It's like give it to me. I'll put it on my platform for free. Go to independent YouTubers. I imagine they'll give it you for free as well, for like time and space. It's like,
like
Jesus.
kind of funny games, yeah.
Yeah, but Adam, that's the thing though, again, because remember, it goes back to that conversation of like, it's in that February-March window, which is like awfully stacked, and they're really trying to get fans that aren't Life is Strange fans. They're trying to get a wider appeal, a bigger market, and it's like such a cutthroat kind of like industry at the minute, where it's like you see the repercussions of job layoffs, you see how hard it is for games to kind of stack up well. So yeah, it's interesting that you don't think it's going to be at the Game Awards. I think that's a fair thing to make. I think they're going to be there in some capacity, some way, shape, or form, even if it's a trailer, just to kind of get people to see it again.
So I want to point out that again, this is Google's AI overview, so grain of salt here. Thanks AI. The cost to run a game trailer at the Game Awards in 2024 is going to be a 1-minute trailer. 60 seconds is $250,000. 2.5 minutes is 550,000. So I think what this AI thing is doing, I think that's all the cost from the Summer's Games Fest. That's the Summer Game Fest cost.
Yeah.
I don't see any articles that are saying how much a trailer is going to cost at the Game Awards, but if it's anything similar from the Summer's Games Fest, which I think it will be pretty similar, you have to imagine that, to put out a 2-minute trailer being $450,000, will Don't Nod front that money is the question.
Yeah, it feels like the thing is for me that if you didn't do it, it's like it's only a couple of months out from release at that point.
Yeah.
It's like, it's December, it goes into the early part of 2025. So I feel like they should just put the money up just so other people see it again. But like, my word, Keeley's making a fortune there. So you can afford to like bring Linkin Park to play there, something like for a 15-minute show. That, do you know what as well? Like Luke Michelle, if you're watching this, anyone from Don't Nod Montreal, please just slide into my DMs and tell me if you're going to be there or not, because I don't want to sit through that again. I sat through the Game Awards in 2023 for you guys.
3-hour event, dude. No, it was 4 hours. I think it was a 4-hour event, dude.
It was
4 hours.
I was up at like 3 o'clock in the morning waiting to see Lost Records. I was in work the next day. It was like, honestly, the most painful experience I've ever had. It's like, why is this still going on? It's like, it's
so boring, dude.
Yeah, it's like the Oscars meets the Super Bowl meets like something else, and it's like the worst thing I've ever. Like, I'm not just what it's like. Jeff Keighley's egos run out of control. Like, people say other people have egos, and it's like that guy has the biggest ego I've ever seen. But yeah, let's keep an eye on that. We'll see how things go. But I'm interested about this teaser. Is again, we're going to hopefully pick up marketing, which is a good thing. However, there will be another thing to be made about marketing, because this kind of leads into our next topic. And Adam, we've been keeping on top of this, and we've kind of been using the Lost Records Journal to kind of like help alleviate some of the pressure on StrangeCast amid Life is Strange season. So as you have here, Adam, as well, this is an update from the STJV, which is the French union. and they've already been hit by one strike, which was in response to the reorganization project, which Oscar Gilbert, the CEO and chairman of Don't Nod, has organized as part of Don't Nod's response to its really poor financial results in the first half, which 69 jobs are put up at risk in France. And this was happening on this happened on the 8th of November. This was an update from the STJV, which is about Don't Nod's second strike that happened. And apparently at least 120 people joined this strike, which is quite significant compared to, the first one. I can't actually remember the first one. Was there a specific start in the first one? Was that 60
I,
people or something? I can't remember what it was.
I don't know if there was a specific one. I think they said around a certain number. I can't remember now.
I
But this
don't
is a
think.
strong number. Estimates at least 120 people joined the strike from Don't Nod, right? Yeah.
So you have to remember as well, Paris is about 369, like 350 plus, then also not including the people that could get laid off, if anything.
Yes.
Which I'm trying to just look here quickly. Oh, so actually, hang on, I got Adam. So the last one, the first strike that happened, the walkout, over 100 people participated. So that was 1/3 of the studio.
Mm.
So this is relating more to the French end of Don't Nod, the Paris-based studio, the Paris-based division of that studio. So this has been hit by the strike. I'm just going to pull this up as well, Adam, as well, before we get into a conversation about this, because I thought it was a bit interesting, because we actually did cover parts of this as well on StrangeCast before
I do like
Lost Records
interesting
Journal was a
things.
thing.
Yeah.
So they wrote an open letter. There's a lot of things to take away from here. I'm not going to go into the full detail of it because, again, I don't think the Lost Records Journal necessarily incorporates this, because Montreal isn't being technically affected by things. But there was a thing here from the STJV's letter that they put to. This is an open letter to management. And they put here as well, they put the vast majority of studios' key positions are held by men, and there's never been a single female game director. However, Don't Nod Montreal is making progress on these topics, such as the introduction of menstrual leave, but these advancements are not transposed to Paris. So if you remember, Adam, as well, to come back on here, we did talk about Frederica when she introduced the menstrual policy at Don't Nod Montreal. We covered it on a
Yes.
StrangeCast episode. And then also as well, you do have that thing where, for example, they've never had a female director. Even itself as well, Life is Strange never had a female director, the game series, like barring
Oh,
Felicia
yeah.
Kwan being a narrative director. And I don't even know that really counts in terms of game director, that they kind of attached Felicia to all to all the marketing, but necessarily it's not like a game director. Jonathan Stauder is considered game director on Life is Strange Double Exposure. But
Yeah.
I did find it interesting that when you look at the details, as I look reading to the open management letter, this is not going to get drowned out very quickly at all in any way, shape, or form. I think Don't Nod is locked into a battle here with the French Union now, and I think this is going to kind of like this could disrupt things in terms of their cycles. Not just the French studio. I know that in the STJV's response, and then even the reorganization project, Don't Nod Montreal is not affected by anything, so it's not going to be affected by the layoffs. However, I did see some people saying that this doesn't mean that Lost Records is going to get affected. It's not. However, you do have to remember, if there's over 100 people taking part in strikes, the main headquarters of their social media team is based in Paris. It's based in France. So it's like if they're doing the marketing for Lost Records and they're not taking part in certain things, that does have a knock-on effect. I wouldn't be surprised if, for example, if Montreal needed certain designers and stuff, like a bit of help and extra lending hand on Lost Records, they probably would reach out to their French division. And I think these will have like little implications, not as big because obviously Montreal's set up as a different studio. But I'm interested what you think about this, because I think this is not going to get drowned out anyway anytime soon. And I think this could really lead up to like launch with Lost Records, all the things that happen with Don't Nod and the stance of it, because it does feel like the stakes are high now for this game.
I hate that Michelle's in this position right now. Like, that's the thing. Like Michelle is in a position. I hate how Don't Nod Montreal altogether is in a position right here. Yeah, this is going to be this is not going to be a one and done finish. Like, this is not going to be one single strike, and we're not going to hear anything more of it. I think Don't Nod is in some pretty big trouble right now. I do enjoy, like, I am pretty excited for them to be on strike. I'm glad that they're standing up for what they truly believe, but in most cases, I don't think we're going to see a happy ending from this at all. Like, do you see anything like that's happy about this? Because like the more we report on it, the more you talk, the more I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Like, and I'm sure people in Don't Nod are more scared than we are.
Yeah.
Um, but
There's
it
no
is,
jeopardy for us. I
yeah,
agree with you. Like, there's no jeopardy for us. It's all on them. Like, this is like you have to think about it as well. It's that thing that you always said very early on in our conversations. I think even on StrangeCast, where it's like, oh, it's Lost Record. It's made by the people from Life is Strange, and we move on. We're in that kind of like era of consumerism, like especially with games. It's like you see how many games and success stories like they don't have the same success stories Life is Strange. I'm not sitting here thinking this is going to be a banker for Don't Nod, but it's like they're probably hoping it's a banker now. But that comes with all the caveats. So, for example, even with Life is Strange 1, the momentum didn't really pick up until like a couple episodes in where people started
yeah,
playing it and they're raving about it. Same happens here. And I think you're right as well, because I do feel for Michelle as well. I feel like it's the same with you as well, because there's no guaranteed success on this, despite the fact that he worked on Life is Strange, was a key influence, a key architect, and there's no guarantee that translates over to successful Lost Records. And people sometimes message me privately saying, like, you have higher expectations for Lost Records than other people do, and you think it's going to be a success. I don't necessarily think it's going to be that. I think I'm just excited for it to see it and play it in the same vein as an Oxenfree game. But it's like, can it carve out the bigger market, which is the big question I have for it. And if you ask imagine if you ask Don't Know Montreal, they would be very, they'd have their feet on the ground when they talk about it. They'd be like, we hope so. That would be the kind of response I'd expect from them. So it's
mm,
like in between the STJV stuff, it's a lot of noise to be caused among many other things. I'm not saying that I'm not against the union for supporting its workers, but I'm saying this also adds an extra layer of pressure on it, because think about like Gamescom booth, for example, when they say, oh, we've talked about Marin, we talked about the great stuff and the branding that he's done, but they do rely on the French division. They rely on the main hub that is in Paris to help them out. And it's like, if that is being hit by strikes and things are being disrupted in schedule, that has a knock-on effect in Montreal either way. It's nice to see that, for example, Frederica's acknowledgement has been put into that open letter, which is,
yes,
about menstrual policy. You spoke very highly of it when we talked about it in StrangeCast, but it's like, you know, I think that this is a big issue with Don't Nod, because they've taken they've rolled the dice in terms of doing the reorganization project. They've restructured things in terms of all this other stuff. They've suspended production lines. They've written down assets, but you're now locked in a battle with your workers, because as we've spoken about, they have over 300 people working at the studio, 350 people. Think about Deck 9, for example. I think the IGN article said that they were down to about 100-ish after the round of layoffs that they had as
yeah.
well. So it's like, it's quite brutal, the cycle that starts. And I'm not really, I'm hopeful that they kind of bounce back from this, because I can't remember, it was this week or even maybe last week, I tweeted about the fact that the stock had fallen below €1 at one point. It
Yes.
bounced back up and it closed the day above €1 trading, but it's never hit that low in its entire cycle since being a publicly listed company. And it's like the stock is in a depreciating position. I
Mm.
don't know if it's going to get delisted. I don't think, even if it goes below euro, I don't think it gets delisted. It's not American stock exchange like where they do things with the dollar if it falls below a dollar. But I am a little bit worried. I'm probably a lot more worried, if anything, like that. Not
I'm
just from my don't nod position, but also just like,
yeah.
from just a general position as well.
No, I think we're gonna see a complete overhaul in the whole games industry, because like we're not just seeing just let's talk about another French company that's starting to hear like different feats of the stock market, right? We're talking about Ubisoft. You know,
Here we go.
Ubisoft is now down. The last time I checked was a week ago. It was $3.50. $3.
Ooh,
Yeah.
depends where you're
Last time I
looking, which one it
checked.
is.
What's that?
So it depends what you're looking at. So 'cause obviously it's a French one, and
Yes.
on the European, it's on about $13. I think last time I checked, and maybe that's the American trade off that they've done, or a different division of it.
Maybe. You're talking to a complete idiot right now. So, right now I'm just googling Ubisoft stock ticker. Okay.
Yeah.
So again, once again, complete idiots that's talking on the microphone right now. $2.88
Oh,
is yeah.
so this is. Let me pull it up here. So the
Yeah.
Ubisoft ticker symbol is Euro UBLP or UBIP. So that's the current Ubisoft stock. I'll show you on the screen here. If you're looking, and
Okay.
it's currently trading about €13. It had a
Gotcha.
spike after the Tencent rumor, which could lead to a buyout from the family potentially. So it's kind of, it bounced off a very low. So I'm looking at now under €10. It fell on the 26th of September, and it's currently
Mm,
trading at $13.54 as of as of Sunday when we closed. The market reopens on Monday.
Mm.
Um,
Can you also take a look at just for my measures is uh I don't know if Quantic Dream is a public company.
no, no,
No, I
they're
didn't
listed.
think so. I know there's
Square Enix
another
is a
big
public company. A
yes.
like
But
my
I'm
friends.
looking specifically at French studios. Um
I don't necessarily think there are, to be honest, Adam. I think it's just Ubisoft and Don't Nod really that
yeah,
I
that's what
know
I'm
off the
like.
top of
I
my head.
think there's one more that's like a publicly traded company, and I can't remember
Who
which
is
one
it?
it is.
Are there any other big
I'm
publishers from France or developers? I can't really think of anyone.
I mean, there
Quantic
is
Dream, Don't Nod,
Quantic
and
Dream. There is Focus. Focus Entertainment is a French studio. But
they do
yeah.
have Bandai
Anyways,
Namco. Yeah.
so a point being, I think if we're seeing this in France, that being Don't Nod, that being Ubisoft, or even seeing it in Montreal, a lot of Montreal studios. I think it has a lot to do with the games market right now, and I think it has a lot to do with Games Pass. I think it has a lot to do with Games Pass. I think it has to do with
Yeah.
subscription models in general, that people aren't buying items anymore. They're not buying music. Like the fact that here's the other thing. I bought the new Make Them Suffer album, which by the way, banger album. Self-titled Make Them Suffer just dropped. So but yeah, like I bought that. But in today's market, that's insane. Why would you buy the Make Them Suffer album? It's on Spotify. I'm not subscribed to Spotify anymore. I'm not
Mhm.
subscribed to Apple Music. I'm not doing that. We're talking about music. We're talking about movies, even going to a theater. That's bizarre. Wait till it's on
Yeah.
Max. We are seeing a shift in consumer mentality that is not a good thing for artists. It's not a
Mm.
good thing. Um, we're seeing that now. When Netflix first came up, right? It was pretty good.
Yeah.
When indie on Xbox came up, that was a good thing because it
Mhm.
allowed us indie artists to like get our art out there in the open. But now it's becoming the norm, and we're seeing the effects as
Mhm.
we're talking in this Lost Records podcast, right? We're seeing the effects of one studio having the effects of this. But I don't think Don't Nod is alone. And I think that's why these strikes are happening. And I think that's why they're all scared of being laid off, because consumers are stupid. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just putting that out there. The average consumer, if you've ever worked in customer service, I'm talking to you, the listener. If you ever worked in a restaurant, if you ever worked retail, if you ever worked anything that has to do with consumer relations, you will know that the average consumer, I'm going to say it, stupid. They don't know
Mm.
what they want. So if the general market says that we should all subscribe, like go on a subscription and not buy anything, this is what's happening. That's what's happening to the
Yeah.
consumer market. It sucks.
I think you're fair with that. The gaming market is so weird. It's such a weird landscape to navigate. I don't know what's happened. You've seen like the copious amount of layoffs in 2024 from both
Yeah.
the video game industry and then also from the journalism side as well. There's a reason why I left journalism a long time ago in the video game industry, if you're wondering as well, because I just knew it was unsustainable. I've managed to be able to dictate a career for like
Jason
over
Schreier
10 years.
agrees with you, by the way.
Well, he's right though as well, because even Jason Schreier is very fortunate to be in the position he's in terms of doing investigative reporting, because like most websites wouldn't even allow that necessarily. You'd be doing that in your spare time whilst trying to investigate something, because they have other resources that need to allocate towards. And I'm saying that in a very admirable way, because he's a fantastic journalist and a reporter, especially an investigative reporter. But it's a reflection of the gaming industry. They have high budgets on games. They have ridiculously high budgets. They make smaller returns in these games. Audiences have changed. I don't even really know the demographics either, in terms of like people playing Fortnite, for example, people playing free to play games.
Rocket League is
Microtransactions is
still up there.
valuable. Rocket. I didn't even know Rocket. I remember the Rocket League hype when I played it first time around. I didn't even know if it was still playing now. I don't know about Fall Guys
It
either.
still happened. Yeah.
Yeah, so these are the things that start to like gravitate trends. The trends have changed very much on what video games people really enjoy and stuff. So it's like these all come into factor and play with like the bigger context of the conversation, with like Lost Records, with Life is Strange, with anything from Don't Nod, Deck Nine. That's where you see the problems, because like someone said to me as well, because do you actually remember as well, we did a predictions episode for Deck Nine and Don't Nod as well. I think it was like Deck
Yes.
Nine, Don't Nod, and Life is Strange. It's like up to 2030. I do plan on going rewatching that, because I do want to see what has happened, because even in that climate, I think that may have been a 2022 episode or a 2023 one. It's like, could I have told you that basically both Deck Nine and Don't Nod are like this, just kind
Yeah.
of like balancing it? And it's like, probably not, because I thought maybe things were a bit more peachy and, sunshine and rainbows, if anything, but it's not like that anymore. And it's like, that's why it's so difficult to cut through this. And it's like, when you've seen the STJV stuff, I think the French developers that Don't Nod are obviously very happy, because up to 69 jobs could be lost. It'll take the studio down from about 370 employees when I think you last checked around that mark, down to almost
Yeah.
300. And it's like, it's a battle here now. It's going to be a bit of a battleground that happens between the upper
Yeah.
management and then also the workers as well. And I think
I
these are
will,
all going to start to play into it.
as we're talking about that, I want to rescind my consumers are stupid remark, right?
Hmm.
The more we're talking about this, can I flip flop like a politician real quick?
Fair.
I don't want to say the average consumer is stupid. I think what we're trying to get at is the average consumer is misled. Let's put it that
That's
way.
fair.
I think it's misled more than anything else. Because we're talking about the Rocket League thing. We're talking about they see value in this because they are misled to think that it's valued. So I'm going to change it to the average consumer is misled, and I still think that's fair in terms of, if you work in the food service industry, the large cup, it's what I need. Everybody says I need it because McDonald's says, would you like to supersize that? Burger King says, like, oh, you can get a triple Whopper. I don't know. I don't even know. But I think the average consumer is misled, and I think that's fair in the video game industry as well.
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think we just, video games feel very different from where I was at in my life. And it's like,
Yeah.
even when I made the admission on like the StrangeCast episode about the Lost Record, about Life is Strange of Exposure, I even said to you, like, I don't really play video games anymore. It's quite an admission to make, and it's the truth that I play certain video games. I play
I'm telling you what to
more.
do to fix that, man.
I know. It's on the list. When it pops up, you'll get the first, but you're going to be the first person that gets the picture of it. But that in itself is a consumer trend, Adam, as well, because I know most people in their 30s who own that console and that platform, the Switch.
We're
They
talking
play
about
their
the
games on
Nintendo
it.
Switch, by the way.
Yeah. So I don't know why we're being so coy about it. It's almost like Chloe Price asked that.
It's
Like,
a
let's not
secret.
mention. Yeah, no, let's not mention the N word, the NS word, Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Word.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Chill.
but like, let's not mention the NS word, Nintendo Switch. But it's true though, it's a reflection of that. And I think like in itself, Don't Nod has like, because even some of the Don't Nod games haven't really made it to like Switch, for example. And it's like, even for example, like Lost Records is not coming to Switch, and it's like,
No.
I'm sometimes thinking like, maybe you need to like really pivot the production to that and like somehow find a way to get it on Switch and Switch too, because maybe there's more advantageous things to get from your games being on here, like with other things. I think like, it's a big one for this, but I do find it interesting that, for example, there has never been a female game director on anything that is like Don't Nod related. That is something for a studio, the way it positions itself. And I've always said this before as well. Don't take my bias among many other things, because Don't Nod, Deck Nine, you're all the same to me in terms of like, where I stand on it. I'm not asking for freebies and stuff, but it's like, with Don't Nod, I'm surprised there's never been. You sell your soul out for that.
Yeah, dude. Give me a little jacket, I'll sell you my soul.
Turn out with your Max Caulfield jacket, like, fantastic, Adam. I was like, there's the ethical stance.
Just tripped out in Square Enix merch on the next episode. Like, oh, I just bought these on my own, Adnan. I don't know what you're talking about. I love Square Enix.
Well, when you, I might become a nepo baby when you sell me out. That's my villain arc. When I realized that I've been like sold under the bus to the publisher for that. No, but like it's a big one with Don't Nod though as well, because you see it in like certain positions, like in their studios, like the lead character artist might be like female, and then other people might be in higher positions with female, but never a female game director. It's interesting that was point out in there. I do wonder if that'll ever change at Don't Nod.
I'm wondering if that's ever going to change in the games industry too, like just in general, because like that's the other thing is we're gonna there's a lot of rumor that Jade Raymond, who is a refined game director, her studio might be shut down, Haven Studios by Sony, because of Concord. Thank you, Concord, for doing that. I see examples of like Amy Hennig, who was also like screwed over by the industry. She was a pioneer in the games industry. Like, she was like put on the curb.
Jessica Curry was as well for the Chinese room when she did Everybody's Going to the Rapture. Yeah, women have a very hard position in that industry. Bonnie Ross, all these people. There's some very standout women who are in the industry, but then there are very few that like get into those kind of key positions. Even when I said, for example, with Life is Strange, Felicia Kwan has been the closest to being a co-director on this game, on that series. But even then, she was a narrative director, not the co-game director. It was just John Stowden who was the game director. And it's like, you do ask some questions about that. But again, that's a systemic issue of the video game industry. It's a systemic issue of the video game industry and among many other things as well, where it's like you've had all these problems that have caused from it. And it's like, even when people say to me, it's like, we don't want to go back into the games industry, work in the press. I'm like, no, I'm happy. I made my decision a long time ago because I see it all the time with developers, really talented developers who are like on the risk of like, even do you remember when Supermassive Games, for example, went through restructuring? And even Alejandro said that he was like one of his job, like his job was potentially online. I was like, wow, that guy's got so much experience working at Square Enix on like loads of Life is Strange games, and to someone to be on his position to be put at risk in the game industry. But that's the industry is. It's just cutthroat. You see with studios all the time laying off and churning people. It's just horrible to see. I think we'll come back to this, Adam. I think the STJV's position with Don't Nod is not over for a long shot. I think it's going to be a recurring theme in episodes to come, and we will keep talking about it as well. I'm trying to keep an eye on what they're doing as well.
But you know what will never die out? My love for Fellow mugs. And oh boy, do I love Fellow. If Fellow wants to just hit me up, boy, oh boy.
Do you know when
yum, yum, yum.
when you want to do a sponsor and you want to add in something, you actually go and reach out to them first without giving them free adverts.
I am reaching out to them. They listen to the podcast.
Oh, God almighty. Right. Anyway, that's not an advert, by the way, as well. Just wondering, guys, that is not an advert. Transparency is very important there. Adam, main topic. Should we go into a bit of a main topic? Should we go into a deep dive here for last?
Bro, I love deep diving, dude. I love the deep dive fish.
So this might feel like a little bit of a repeat. I don't think it's a repeat. I think it's a bit more of a follow-up to our last episode, because obviously Lost Records has been quiet and we haven't got like a lot of conversations to be had. But we are bringing Life is Strange back in here because now we've seen the full brunt of what's happened with double exposure. Obviously, you can go and check out our review and spoilercast episode. It is available online. It's very that was 2 hours.
It's brutal.
And I said this because people even mentioned this. Some couple people said, like, are you going to speak about like the Max and Safi relationship and other things? I was like, it's like yes, we will get to that stuff, but it's like it was 2 hours. I could start that for you with 6 hours talking about that game. There was that many things that we need to talk about. I was like, we will get to those things. Don't worry, we've got a lot of time with StrangeCast to move forward and heal together as we all do. But we are bringing double exposure back in here for the conversation, because we did say, like, could Lost Records benefit from the backlash? And obviously that was the early backlash that we've seen, and then obviously the game has now come out. And the whenever we put something out from which is said from the developers in the interviews, the reaction is very telling. So I kind of wanted this to just be a topic about the aftermath of Life is Strange double exposure with Lost Records, because they're different studios, they're different developers, they're different mentalities. But the one thing that really stands out for me is what Michel said in that interview, Games Industry Biz, when he was talking about Lost Records. And he said the biggest lesson we will learn from Life is Strange, it was 3 words, this one quote, it's characters are key. And it's like, you have like so many points here, Michel, where it's like, I think they should be studying Life is Strange double exposure. It's from a different studio, it's different style, aesthetic, but I think they should really be studying it, because Michel said something really interesting when he came out to kind of like weather the storm of the controversy that was happening, where people were saying things. Even in itself, he made the admission that he got like, like messages about doing Sean and Daniel, for example, over, Max and Chloe as a follow-up game. And like for them, for example, they'll probably have to start thinking about, if this game turns out to be a success and turns out to be a major success, do you still have the fortitude to take out Swan, for example, out the main role and go into a new character? Are you going to be willing to do a Life is Strange 2-esque responsibility? But in the general sense, for me, it's just looking at what they've done wrong, Deck Nine, and they should really capitalize on that, because I think they'll benefit in certain respects now, where it's like even some of the more diehard Life is Strange fans are upset, and some of the ones who weren't going to buy Lost Records are now kind of like teetering their eyes towards it and just looking at it, if anything. And I think they should really try and galvanize and captivate that as much as they possibly can, because again, they're bigger marketing pushes to capture a larger audience. But I think there's a lot of lessons for them to learn from from Life is Strange double exposure, just to see it as the optics of like what's happened with that game, what the reaction was, what people saw, the disappointments, etc. Because these are all things that they can try and take into advantage for double exposure, for Lost Records Boomerang. I think there's ways to work this out for them.
Sorry, did you ask me something?
No, I was letting you get into this conversation. I was like, I
Oh
stopped. I was
no, I
like,
was
I'm
waiting for
talking.
you to like finish. I thought you had more points to say.
No.
Um,
I was waiting for you to get into. I was like, I'm talking too much. I'll let him ease himself in now. But no, like, yes, go on.
I was being polite here. Um, no, yeah, it is. We're gonna see some. I do like this one quote from the link we're currently in. Management justifies redundancy in plans, which will see up to 69 people dismissed from the company on the grounds of the difficult economic context in the industry, without questioning itself. Right.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah. I'm Listen, man, I do want to be hopeful. I do, because like this is a game that's this is a studio that I really really care about, and this is the game that I really really care about. And like you said,
hmm
will they have the gall to move forward from Swan? I think they have to, and I think that that's what Michel's style is. He doesn't like to stick to a character, right? And he likes to experiment with characters, right? He's not really, from what we've seen, right? We haven't seen a lot from Michel in terms of like, I'm trying to think of like a person who has a lot of experience in character
Kojima.
development. Sure, Kojima, right? With Solid Snake, but or Snake Daddy, as some people like
Mm,
to call him that. But we haven't seen a lot, because I'm saying that we've only seen him with Remember Me, which I'm playing for the first time.
yes.
Remember Me, we've seen him as an art director on that. We've only
hmm
seen him with Max and Chloe, then we've seen him with Sean and Daniel. We haven't seen a lot, but what we have seen is that he likes to differentiate himself, right?
Yeah.
However, the games market nowadays is all about IP. It's all about
Mm.
IP. Everything about this is about IP. Um, like I said, I'm just like looking through this. Like as you were talking, I was like kind of reading.
With Michel as well, because like he is a Final Fantasy fan, and he's always said like he likes the focus on like one character. He doesn't like rotating, for example. Um, I would hope he sticks with the anthology model for Lost Records. I hope that that's one thing they learned
I
from, for
think you
example,
will.
double exposure. Because like, look at what they've caused with double exposure. I'm trying not to be as spoiler heavy, but like, they caused like a mess in terms of like what they tried to do with continuity, and that's caused like a big backlash where some people liked it, some people like a lot of people disliked it. And it's like, when there was no real big story that they could carry on in like a successful way because of the way that the game played out, I think revisiting characters is kind of like a very slippery slope for them as well. So I
Mm.
think like depending on the story they're telling with Lost Records, there could be an almost Max-esque choice with like Swan, the way the story goes. Like it would be very difficult for you to go back to her, for example. She might be a character you can make in passing in later games, but I just hope that they don't think like the past experiences from Life is Strange 2 and then what they see from like double exposure, they think actually let's scrap the anthology model and like let's just go for a continuation of a Swan franchise, for example, in Lost Records, because I think there are pluses for obviously keeping established characters and settings, etc. But it's a dangerous game to play, man. Unless you really have a narrative set up for those sequels, the games, you can't just put at the end of the game, Swan Holloway will return. It's like I'm like, no, like
Because that's the thing, is that like we might say that we're tired of seeing the same character over and over, but that's the market now.
mhm,
The market is only about IPs. That's exactly why
yeah,
Square went Life is Strange, Max, and then everything about double exposure. Nothing screamed Life is Strange about it. You
true,
know what I mean?
true,
Um, it is all about, we are in an IP market right now, which is why Amazon, has just announced the Mass Effect TV series, and they're announcing the Fallout season 2, and that's why we're seeing a lot of IPs given to us.
yeah,
Mostly video games now, but maybe because we're just in the market, but um it's hard to experiment anymore. And I think that if Michelle wants to experiment with an anthology series, we're seeing that at Supermassive, right? They did the anthology with Man
mhm.
of Medan. We're seeing it with just the Dark Pictures anthology. How well did that go? Not too great, you know. It
And
and
instead they've remade Until Dawn, haven't they? Remake, remaster, whatever it is,
it's an
that weird hybrid.
IP. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an IP that everybody recognized, and it's just I hate being in this because it's so boring, dude.
Yeah, because
Um,
like, funny when you mention it as well, it's still just hit my microphone. Sorry.
Yeah.
um, oh God, this is a train wreck podcast.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to hit that. I've got it still here, double exposure. But I'm already gonna put a prediction out here as well. This will be remastered in like 4 years. Within 4 years, and we're
4
all gonna be like,
years.
but within 4 years, it's gonna be remastered or ported, and we're gonna be like, did anyone ask for this as a remaster or a report? Like, was that any? But it's what I'm saying in terms of your conversation. It's gonna be the IP, the brand, it's Max, it's
It's
all that
all
stuff, and
about
it's
the
like,
IP.
yeah,
Until the market changes, I think we should be nervous as both consumers and as artists, you know?
yeah,
Um, Again, I'm standing by it that I think the consumers are misled, and I
mhm,
think they want IPs now because they were led to believe that you should be excited for an IP. You should be excited for a Mass Effect series on Amazon. You should be excited for it. And I'm like, I'm not really excited. Another one, Yakuza is all. I
oh
believe that's
God.
another trash series from Amazon.
But I
Um,
got told by a friend that I know. I've obviously got into the Yakuza series, but I was told that they were told the actors that they shouldn't be looking at the source material for the game. I was like, what? I was like, what? You're telling the
what?
actors to not look at the source material for
I
this
think they
game?
said
It's
the
like that's
same
the.
thing for Fallout too. I think the actors for Fallout didn't really look at it. Yeah.
Do you remember the Life is Strange TV show, which never happened?
Oh fuck. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you remember that, like,
Yeah.
for example? Like that's like again one of
Yeah.
those things that's just like just stuck in. It's hard, man. It's hard in the industry. If this was 2015, I'd feel very differently about Lost Records, thinking like, oh yeah, potentially it could be a success. It could have that same trajectory and stuff. I always laugh about it, even with like Life is Strange. It's released in Japan, for example. Like that is just wild. I think if you had said them to them 10 years ago, like, will you see Life is Strange released in Japan? They're probably like, nah, Square Enix is never going to put this much faith in it. It's just going to be released in Europe and like North America and other places, but it'll never have that. But like, it's just hard to build IPs, man. I think the industry is lacking that as well. Like, because that's why I think like Lost Records appeals to me. It's like when I play Oxenfree or Lost Records, or you play Duck Detective. Is it Duck Detective?
Duck Detective, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say Goose Detective. Duck Detective. When you play these
There's
games,
also
these are
Frog
really
Detective.
frog. But when you play these games, these are the ones that are taking the risks. They're taking the biggest risks with hope for the big payoffs, and sometimes they don't get the big payoffs. So it's like even with Oxenfree, Lost Records could have a cult-like status with a small community of people. But is that enough for Don't Nod? For me,
Yeah.
no. Because Don't Nod has
Yeah.
shareholders, it has people it needs to appease, it needs a big game. Every single time you look in their financial earnings, it's always a back catalog, of revenue that comes in, royalties, driven mainly by Life is Strange and Vampire, more so Life is Strange than Vampire. And it's like they need something more than that. So it's like with Lost Records, it's like God only knows if the game's going to change some kind of end of production at this point. It might even go through like little tweaks here and there in between things, like because of the climate of like what's happened with Don't Nod. It's like
Yeah.
we don't actually know, and it's like it seems like the resources. I think you put it best when you said in the other episode. It's like the weight of the world, the weight of Don't Nod's shoulders now again on Michel's place, and it's like, can you deliver something? And the expectations are even bigger this time because he has a reputation behind himself
They're
as a Life is Strange
the
co-creator.
expectations are bigger in a completely different market. Like that's the
Yeah.
worst part. Yeah.
It's a market I don't even know how to kind of like navigate really. Like if someone said to me, it's like when you join like the Life is Strange team or like Lost Records team as a marketing perspective or something, I'm like, no, thank you. It's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like I don't understand the way trends happen, the way things happen. It's like you see, for example, I think sometimes I follow Low Birth Games, which is the Canadian studio which made This Bed We Made, which is
Yes.
a Life is Strange game. They have huge success on TikTok. They have huge success of people. Like they put a recent video out, which is one of the Life is Strange Easter eggs in the game. It's like Chloe Price's name is in the hotel guest book, and it went
And
viral. It's got
Frank
massive.
Beans.
Yeah, and Frank Beans, yeah, it's got that reference, but they put one of the videos out there, it got viral, and people are seeing it and like, what game is this? Da, da, da. But does that necessarily translate to sales? No. You might get people like looking at it and be like, oh, this is actually a good thing. But it's ultimately when people put the money into something, isn't it? It's that one thing where it's like, brand IP. As you said, it's that thing about keeping one thing. Apple, iPhone, 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 iPhone. The
Yep.
innovation since Steve Jobs has like just flatlined because they're like, that's the one thing that will sell. We'll keep doing it. We'll keep repeating it. Da,
The
da, da. And
innovation
it's
at
like,
Xbox has been flat, you know?
yeah,
At least PlayStation is trying, You know,
Yeah.
like, are they succeeding is a different story, but even Xbox as a brand has been just like flat, dude. It's oh god, it's so frustrating being an
But
Xbox fan.
to put on that as well, our good friends at Square Enix are doing the same thing. I don't think that I think there's something to look in their
Our
1 year
good
kind of
friends at Square.
their financials for this year as well. I think that's quite revealing in terms of like the way the direction of the company is going. I need to go looking into those because it just says stuff about Life is Strange. It says things about Final Fantasy. It talks like, so much detail about their direction of what they're going in terms of like the pivot that's happened, to try and
Mm,
sell things. And I'm concerned with like if Square Enix, if Microsoft, if all these places are going like struggling, it's like it says something about the gaming industry. And I think even you said that there could be a crash of a gaming industry, but in a different perspective of a crash. And I agree with you as well because I think
yeah, it's not gonna
something is
be
brewing.
83 crash. Yeah.
No, no, that was a completely systemic, different issue. It's like I'm talking like almost like 2008 financial crisis, but different. Not in the same, not being a financial crisis, but in the same bracket of something just explodes, and it's like we didn't see it. We knew it was coming, but it comes, and it's like it just leads to all these things. Because if you've seen it this year, it's been absolute chaos in terms of games industry, writing, both also development of games. These are all issues of it, and it's like Montreal is sitting there, and it's like Don't Nod has put this much investment into the studio. It's building a new IP. It's been greenlit for a franchise, apparently a series, and it's like the expectations are being banked on this IP that has had nothing behind it. And it's like you've seen it with Banishers, you've seen it with Juson. It's like where's Don't Nod's success story? This is the price of freedom, isn't it? It's like you don't work with Square Enix, but then at the same time, you're at the mercy of independence, and it happens all the time with developers. What is indie now? What isn't indie? And it's like for me with Life is Strange, Double Exposure has shown a different reaction in terms of the fandom way things have played out. And I really think that the Lost Records team should be like playing that game just as an observation piece because I think there is value to take away from that. I know it's a different studio, I know it's all this, but they need to understand the climate in different perspectives because that game is giving you a different perspective on what fandoms want, what people want. Because it's like everyone was screaming, even when do you remember the Square Enix like marketing for it? It's like, and even Deck Nine, it's like, we heard your cries for Max. And it's like, hang on a
Mm,
minute. We heard your cries, but you didn't read all the cries because there was another character people wanted. And it's like that little, like, that little thing, that seed was planted and it's caused
yeah.
that chaos that's happened and ensued from it. It's like maybe you want, for example, Frank West to come back for Dead Rising, but are you ready for what you're going to get? Because it might not be the Frank West you want. And it's the same with Solid Snake and the same with that. I even recently, there were two things that happened in the Metal Gear world and stuff. I know that Kojima Productions bought back the Death Stranding IP, so they own the IP
Yes.
out right now.
And now it's on
So it's like
Xbox, baby.
there you go. You can now
Yeah.
play an Xbox. It's launched an Xbox, but they bought the IP back, which means that they find it valuable, and obviously they're going to put it onto other platforms to hopefully get success from it, i.e., Xbox, for example. And then the other one I read was like last night, which was I can't remember who it specifically was. Someone from Konami's team saying that the remake for Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Delta, which is coming up, is done because there's an audience of people who haven't played that game. And I'm like, but you've ported it on everything. You've ported it on everything. You've made all this. And it's like, my biggest worry for them is that they're going to try and do a sequel to Snake here in between the period. And I'm like, no, you're going to be playing a very big risk game because it's like you
Yes.
can remake that game because it's very easy because it's like the guy has made every detail of it. However,
Hmm.
it's the climate, man. I would even make a joke of it. If I was interviewing Michelle, I'd be like, "Are you going to remake Lost Records in 10 years?" It's the joke of what I do with like a studio. It's the same though. It's like when I said that as well. That will be ported onto another console in 3 or 4 years, and we're going to be like, "Did anyone ask for this?" And I'm not even taking it as
Yeah.
a dig at Double Exposure. It's the same with like Life is Strange when it got ported over. It's like it's a console generation old. Now we'll report. It's like I can put the other disc in the console and still work. No, we're just going to port it anyway. It's business. They're churning it out, man. They're trying to prophesize of everything. Um, I hope their
Which
marketing cuts through. I
which
hope their
funnily
marketing.
enough, the Switch 2 has been announced that it will be fully backwards compatible.
Good, good.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't expect Nintendo to do ports either. Like the
Nope.
Legend of Zelda remastered Super port. They don't care about it because Nintendo are just like, you know what? If someone's got a Switch, cool, because they
The
can bring
only
their
reason
games
why
over.
so many ports happened on the Switch, like so many, it's because nobody had a Wii U. Nobody had
Yeah,
a Wii U. So they're just porting
yeah.
like, hey, we want you to buy this game that we put our time in, and we understand the Wii U sucked. So like therefore ports. But like PlayStation, it's like, we're gonna port it to the same generation.
But
Why?
it's like doing the Horizon one that they're doing, and it's like they've
Yeah.
redone like mocap and stuff, and they've done this. I'm like, really? I'm like,
It's
really?
been
Like,
like a
if
couple
you're a Horizon
years.
fan, fantastic. But it's like just put the disc in the old. It's like it's not worth the investment of what you're doing there. And it's not going to
Yeah.
garner the returns because games are expensive, man. Like at least this game, I'm looking because like in itself as well for the audience. If you had listened to me and Adam on StrangeCast on Do
Yes.
Not Buy the Ultimate Edition, for example, you could have bought this at retail price, and you
Yeah.
could buy Lost Records at retail price for pretty much the same price because it's like that extra money you throw in the cat content and everything else. You can now save and put into Lost Records because it's a cheaper game. It's going to come out cheaper. But
Which
that's the thing, Adam.
if there is an ultimate edition for Lost Records, guess what? I'm buying it.
I want the vinyl. I want a vinyl,
Yes.
Michelle. Make a
Yes.
vinyl. Just make it for me
Make
at
a
least,
vinyl.
if anything. Like,
Not me.
I want the one exclusive rights to it. But it's true though, Adam, as well, because I think even Lost Records' price tag will appeal to people. Because even when we bought Life is Strange Double Exposure, I was biting my lip buying that game because I was like, ooh, it's like, do I want to pay full price retail for this game? It's like, I don't really pay like that kind of money for like video games that like launch now, especially when they're AAA. It's like they're outrageously priced. It's like, so I'm not sure if it's worth my money, but like Lost Records seems to be within that.
Yeah,
There are lessons
I
to be
just
learned.
googled Lost Records Ultimate Edition. I'm just making sure that they haven't announced it yet, but they have not. But if they do, guess who's buying it?
I think their time frame is that they're doing that in partnership, I think, with Maximus Entertainment for the retail release. And that retail release isn't even planned, I think, till next year, late next year. That's the retailer listing. The retailer listings are wrong sometimes, but it seems like it's not going to come out straight away. And it might be like a limited run, Juson style, for example.
Yes.
I think they're obviously going to try and drive it off the sales front on top of like, the sales fronts and PlayStation Store, etc. It's ultimately down to I think they're going to learn some lessons, if anything. Don't Nod Montreal, like Luke and Michelle, because the climate is so different. Like as you said, they haven't released a game since Life is Strange 2, and that was a very polarizing game. Even the marketing, they had Square Enix supporting it and stuff. It's a different world now. So I do wonder how they're going to cope with navigating this game in the territory of things. I think that's going to be really interesting for them. My personal feedback for them would be that they need to tap into TikTok more. I think Lost Records is built for TikTok in terms of the marketing. Low Birth is giving them a good example of that. I think that they should really look at what Low Birth's doing with that because I think if they're going to drive marketing, I think they could really tap into Gen Z off that platform and hopefully Gen Alpha, which is now emerging as well into that platform. But it's like I think that they can tap into that platform. I think they should be really using it more than the other ones like Twitter and stuff. I think
if we can get Swan to say "Skibbity Toilet Ohio Riz," that would be fantastic.
Maybe like what's that line now that Vin says? I can't remember the character. It's Gwen's wife. It's like it's planning their calendar like a social media TikTok influencer. Or something.
Yeah, like
maybe we get Amanda. Maybe we get Nora to say that as well. Like get a bit of that slang in there, a bit of the Gen Z slang. Oh god, it makes it. It's just like you have. It's like come on, man. It's like I can't do it, man. It's like it doesn't work. It's like we're older, middle-aged millennial, and it's like
middle-aged. I'm 30. I'm almost 34.
Oh god, I'm already like I'm a deep man 60 in here. If anything, it's like it's already cut me. But yeah, what should we wrap up here because we'll cap it under an hour for it.
Yeah, definitely. Because and you have to go in 15 minutes.
Indeed, I do. I've got work, so perfect timing actually. So we'll finish this up. So thank you for joining us, guys. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you think about Lost Records. Are you excited more? Are you going to buy it now because of Life is Strange, etc.? Are you worried about the STJVs? Situation with Don't Nod, let us know. We're interested to hear. And as always, again, one more time, if you are new here, please do drop a subscribe to the channel, turn notifications, like the video, share your friends, help support the channel, helps keep up to date with the channel, all the Lost Records content we produce, all the Life is Strange content we produce. Lost Records Journal available on all podcast services, so check us out on Spotify, rate us, download the episodes. Again, it helps support our podcasts. And yeah, we are back to normal schedule now. So obviously StrangeCast is up next. There's quite a lot to talk about. There's a lot of interviews from me and Adam to dig into in the aftermath of that game. Again, one more time, thank you so much for the support. The last 3 StrangeCast episodes have been phenomenal in terms of the response, in terms of how many people are watching them. We deeply appreciate that. But yeah, do stay tuned because we will be back with StrangeCast. I imagine that if there's any Lost Records news, it will probably be covered on that as well. So do stay tuned. There's a lot to talk about. Until next time, guys. See you later. Bye.
Bye.